welcome back to Cape Corner, where we explore the history, story, and cultural impact of a different character or group every episode. I'm Blue.
And I'm Jay.
It's been a while since you and I did an episode.
Yeah. What's it been like? Feels like it's been a month or two, right?
It was the Doctor Strange, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that wasn't even just you and me. That was literally everyone was here. So, uh, um, it's good to be back with you, my friend, talking about uh weeb shit. So today is one of the stranger weeby entries that I'm sure nobody would have expected us to talk about, but uh, you had a couple of these toys as a kid, but you don't know too much about the story, and I am rewatching the story from the start currently. Uh, so today we're going to be talking about one of the most famous Pokemon clones because it's a little bit of a clone of Pokemon, a clone of Yu-Gi-Oh, a clone of like Beyblade, um, and it's Bakugan. Um, so why don't you like tell me like what you do know of Bakugan?
Literally that those little balls turn into different creatures. And that was it. I just
That's
had
it.
fun. Yeah, I just had fun transforming them as a kid.
They were some of the best toys, legitimately. Um,
Yeah.
I wasn't so much a kid because I'm like 10 years older than you, but I still throw. Okay, real quick anecdote time before we get into it. I found out because I was super into Bakugan um, when I was like, I don't know, like 18 or so, um, when it had come out, that there was a Bakugan tournament at our local Toys R Us.
Oh.
Um, and I was all excited and I wanted to go. And so I went to the Toys R Us. My grandmother and my father um, dropped me off there, and for joining up at the tournament, I got a complimentary little wristband that said Bakugan official tournament or whatever on it. And I was like, wow, wristbands are comfy as fuck. It was like this nice knitted thing, and I was like, I kind of want another one. So because I was there early, I was just looking around Toys R Us, and near the checkout, I found a little Mario wristband of where the Bakugan one was black, that one was blue, and it had a little like Starman on it. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh, that's great. I could totally have two wristbands. But it was like $5 and I didn't have or no, it was like $10 and I only had like $5 on me, something like that. And so I was like, oh man, if only I had like $5 more. Oh well. And so I'm like just walking around Toys R Us looking, and I saw this one old lady there, and I suddenly had the idea of I should ask her if she has $5 to spare. It's not a whole lot, and you never know, maybe somebody would be generous. So I went up to her. I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, you wouldn't happen to have a spare $5, would you? And she was like, no, sorry. I'm like, okay, that's all right. Thank you anyway. And I walked away. As far as I was aware, that was it. And like a few minutes later, uh, someone who works for Toys R Us walks up to me and goes, excuse me, are you going around asking people for money? I'm like, well, I just asked one lady. And he's like, okay, if I give you $5, will you leave the store?
Oh my God.
I'm like, what? No, I asked one person, relax. I was just here for the tournament. And he's like, you're here for that tournament? I'm like, yeah. And I showed him my wristband and he's looking at me all judgmental. And then he tells me like to not cause trouble. I'm like, what the fuck? If I was gonna rob someone, why would I go up to them and politely ask them for a small amount of money?
Right? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that this woman must have made it sound like I was fucking Hitler in disguise or something. Anyway, fuck that lady. I hope she's dead. Okay. Oh, and fun fact, me playing in the tournament was a nightmare because it was only children that I was playing with, and none of them knew the fucking rules to the game. They were all playing with their homebrew rules. And so I had to do the incredibly demeaning and embarrassing act of trying to call over the ref to settle a dispute with like a 9-year-old.
Oh
and
God.
and the refs was mostly just like, I don't know, man, just do whatever. And I'm like, fuck you getting paid for. So uh anyway, all right, Bakugan. So some basics is that in Japanese, Baku means explode and Gan means sphere. So it literally translates to exploding spheres. Uh they are they're kind of like plastic marbles with a magnet in the bottom. And one type of card in the game is a gate card, not gay card. Sometimes you say it real fast and it sounds like you're saying gay card set, but um, what you do is you roll the little marble onto the gate card, and the gate card has a layer of metal in between the two layers of paper. So when the magnet rolls over it, it sticks to the card and it activates a function in the little marble that pops it open, and it takes the form of a little creature. And that's the general idea of Bakugan, is that they all pop open in different ways, and it's very cool. And I love the designs; they're great. Some of them do crazy shit. Towards the end, there was like, uh, okay, there have been ones that when they pop open, they spin. There's ones that when they pop open, they jump. They like leap into the air. There's ones that shoot things out of their bodies when they open.
Oh,
Um,
that's it.
yeah, there was one that shot dice out when it opens, and based on what the dice landed on, it had different effects in the battle.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
It's really cool. They had a lot of really cool ideas with this. It is really good. I'm uh there was a game, an online game during the run of Gundalian Invaders, the third series,
Hmm.
called Bakugan Dimensions. It was an MMO, and they had very unique gameplay because it had very little to do with the actual game. It was more like a turn-based card um, battle thing, um, and it was really fucking good. I really enjoyed it, and the artwork for the cards is some of the coolest artwork you've seen. Um, and it only lasted a year.
Oh,
It was like June 1st, 2010 to June 30th, 2011, or
it's
something like that.
it's it's always the coolest stuff that never lasts long enough.
Yep, it's very upsetting. Uh, and it's not like it wasn't getting money, because the Bakugan toys they were making at the time of that game being out specifically had little like black panels on them. And if you rubbed
Hmm.
your finger over it, they were heat activated and it would reveal a code. And what you would do is you would put the code into Bakugan Dimensions, and you would get that Bakugan that you bought in real life in the game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
So it was kind of like a Webkins thing type of deal.
kind of. It was increasing the physical merch sales because people wanted better Bakugan selections in their game.
Hmm.
But these fools at Cartoon Network have trouble seeing the vision constantly. Um, do I need to bring up the fucking Young Justice thing again? What
No.
a fucking thing. All right. So the story of Bakugan is wild. Okay. I'm going to start from the human's perspective, and then I'm going to hit into more of like the actual fictional lore of what's going on.
Okay.
Um, at the start of the series, what we find out is that one day on Earth, all around the planet, a strange phenomenon happened where cards were suddenly dropping from the sky, falling like rain. It happened all over the planet. And adults were mostly uninterested. Like they thought it was weird, right?
Mm.
But for the cards themselves, they were just sort of like brushing them off of their shit. And the kids picked up the cards and they holding the cards, some of them would like glow and little balls would pop out of the cards. And they saw this as a chance to make a game. But it went beyond that. The kids found out that there were three types of cards. There was the gate cards, like I mentioned. There was ability cards, which seemed to have some sort of like function relating to the little marbles that popped out. And then there was field cards. And they realized that if two people held up field cards to each other, time around them would slow to a stop and they would be transported to like a subspace realm. And in this realm, if you threw a gate card down, it became huge. And then if you threw one of the balls onto the card, not only would it pop open, it would then transform into an actual giant monster.
Oh, that's sick.
And obviously, this was the coolest fucking thing in the world. Not only do we get to have giant monster fights, but because of us being in a different dimension and time has stopped, our parents will never know we're doing it. Rad. And so, of course, all over the world, people were talking about it. Kids were talking about it on message boards and shit because it was the 2010s, right? So, 6 children from various corners of the globe came together and they called themselves the Bakugan Battle Brawlers. And they decided, because there was a bunch of stupid ass kids all trying to do their own homebrew shit, sounds familiar, they should make a centralized rule book of the game, basically. This game that they wanted to call Bakugan, which I guess is the ultimate coincidence that they just happened to come up with the right name. I don't know. But so the main character is Dan Kuso. He's got 2 different names. In Japanese, his name is Danma, and in English, he's just Daniel. But regardless, he's always Dan Kuso. He specialized in playing with Pyrus Bakugan, which is the fire element, all the red ones. Choji Mirakura, his nickname is Marucho, played with the Aquas Bakugan, water element. Shun Kazami played with the Ventus Bakugan, which are wind. Runo, I can't, Misaki, okay. I don't like Runo, but she played with the Chaos Bakugan, which are light. Julie Makimoto played with the Subterra Bakugan, which are earth. And then Alice Gahavik, who I think is supposed to be Russian, but her name sounds German, whatever. She didn't actually play with any Bakugan. She just liked to be a strategist. Marucho, the tiny little glasses boy, always acts like he's the smart one, but apparently in terms of strategy and gameplay, Alice is supposed to be like the big smarty. They never really show that. Like there are a couple of games in the series where she's telling other people what to do, but it's either like very simple shit that anybody else should be able to understand, or it's omniscient shit. Like she can know exactly what the other player has in mind, even though she should have no indication that that's what they're going to do. So neither of those speak to someone who's just like good at strategy. But whatever. The point is, the 6 of them got together, made their own rules for the game. And so they also made a ranking system. And at the start of the series, Shun, who is sort of a loner and broke off from the rest of the Battle Brawlers, he is ranked #1 in the world. And Dan, at the very start of episode 1, is ranked 121. But after a brawl, he quickly moves up to 117. Even though he is self-proclaimed the best in the world, he's clearly not. So now that I've given you the I guess I should say what the rules of the game are. Okay, here's the way it works. You hold up a field card, you say field open, you stop time, and you get the cool little slowdown effect around you, and then you're in the subspace. Now you go into the match. You have 3 gate cards, and this works for the real life version of the game too. You have 3 gate cards. Both players throw a gate card down on the opposite sides of themselves. So your gate card will be closer to your opponent. Your opponent's gate card will be closer to you. And you decide who goes first. In the anime, it's literally just someone goes, I'm going first, and then there's no argument. So that's the most unrealistic thing about all of this. But, in the real game, you like flip a coin or fucking whatever, right? So when it is your turn, optionally, you can throw down another gate card to expand the battlefield if you want. You don't have to. If both gate cards that were initially put on the field are used up, then the players just put down another gate card. It's not a big deal, but you can throw down one of your other gate cards if you want. After you decide whether or not to do that, you throw in a Bakugan, and it has to land on a card. And you can choose to put it on your gate card or your opponent's gate card. It doesn't matter. And then on your opponent's turn, they follow the same structure. And if 2 Bakugan land on the same card, they engage in battle. A gate card can be opened to alter the environment and the rules of battle. An ability card can be used from the hand to either to do things like increase your Bakugan's power, decrease your opponent's power, negate their effects, or whatever. And I should say their power is measured by G's, like the letter G. I don't know why, but
That's weird.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, my Bakugan's got 400 Gs. Well, my Bakugan's got 450 Gs. Oh no. Yeah. So, and there are some instances where 2 Bakugan landing on the same card doesn't necessarily resolve with a battle. Like, as an example, the Bakugan Mantris has an ability called Marionette, where you can move an opponent's Bakugan to any other gate card on the field from where they are. So you can either do that to move them from their safe space on their own card onto yours, where you'd have an advantage, or you can actually end a battle by sending them to a different card. Or there's a gate card called Triple Battle, where battle cannot start until a 3rd Bakugan appears on the card.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different strategy that you can employ there. It's very neat. There's also really cool plays. As an example, there's a gate card called Mind Ghost, which is just a minefield card. When 2 Bakugan are on this card, you open this card and they both explode and die. They're both out of the game. So again, I mentioned Mantris with Marionette. If an opponent's Bakugan lands on Mind Ghost and then they have another Bakugan on another card, Mantris could move their 2nd Bakugan onto Mind Ghost, and then you wipe out 2 of their Bakugan in one go.
Damn.
Yeah. And you only get 3 Bakugan per match. every time a Bakugan loses, they're unusable for the rest of the game. So it's basically last man standing kind of thing. Knock out 3 of your opponent's Bakugan, and you win. As for the ability cards, it's very nebulous about what the rule is there. In the real life game, like the gate cards, you get to enter the game with 3 ability cards, right?
Yep.
And they make it very easy. There's 3 colors of gate cards in the real life game. There's bronze, copper, or there's like copper, silver, and gold. And then for ability cards, they're colored into 3s too. There's red, green, and blue. And the idea is you take 1 of each color into battle. But in the anime, I don't know, man. Like, it almost seems like as the show progresses, they gain access to more ability cards, and so battles escalate. Like, they even get multiple copies of the same card. Like, in the beginning, Dan and his partner Drago have what appears to be a single card of Boosted Dragon, which is like Drago's signature move at the time, because he only uses it like once per match. But then later on, after a couple of evolutions and Drago is now Ultimate Dragonoid, his attack Ultimate Dragonoid, like, they seem to have like at least 5 copies of that shit. So I guess it's just you can literally bring in however many ability cards you own, but you can only use each card once or something. I don't know. Don't worry too much about it. Look, the point is they threw down ability cards, and I have to assume there's some kind of limiting system. Otherwise, they would just use every card they own endlessly.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's the basics of the game. There's also some shit about Halo sector points. Nobody gives a fuck about that. It only meant anything in like 2 episodes of season 1, and then they never spoke of it again. It was some kind of like point system, like how well you brawled and like certain rules and like how many Bakugan you were left with or something gave you a certain amount of points. It doesn't fucking matter. At the end of the day, what matters is, did you knock out their 3 Bakugan? Yes, you win. No, you probably lost, you fucking loser. Nobody gives a shit about points. Okay. All that being said, the kids were like, this is a fun game, definitely not dealing with sentient creatures here. So eons ago, a cosmic intelligence that would come to be known as Code Eve decided to create a new kind of life form. On the planet known as Vestroia, Code Eve created Bakugan. And she started with 2 kinds of Bakugan. The original 2 were the Dragonoid, the first Dragonoid coming to be known as Genesis Dragonoid, and the Darachnoid. And they're both dragons. Dragonoid was a little bit more upright, more humanoid, was all about honor and courage and friendship and all that good shonen shit. And the Darachnoid was a little bit more bestial, was like on all 4s, a little bit more monstrous looking. It was all about cunning and ruthlessness and power. So one was a Gryffindor and one was a Slytherin, right? And then Code Eve made like a shit ton of other Bakugan and populated Vestroia with them. And at this point, Bakugan sort of divided themselves into like 4 groups. The first was the Bakugan that stayed on Vestroia. And this included the Dragonoid. I should also say Dragonoid and Darachnoid, their lineage would be like forever rivals as they pass their like DNA and shit down throughout the generations. But yeah, Genesis Dragonoid and a bunch of Bakugan stayed on Vestroia. Darachnoid and a bunch of Bakugan left Vestroia And from there, those that left split into two groups of their own. Darachnoid and his group went to a planet called Gundalia. And a bunch of other Bakugan went to a planet called Nethia. And finally, the last faction, who also left Vestroya, left before Bakugan like hit this like evolutionary factor where they all became attuned to different elements. So this small group of Bakugan was still like blank. They were known as the White Ones because they had no element. And they just left to wander the cosmos acting like fucking nomads or something. And they were not seen for a very long time. And that was it. So Bakugan were now split among 3 planets and sort of a nomadic travel thing. All right. Generations later, the descendant of the original Dragonoid, a Dragonoid who would come to be known as Drago, which is an extremely original name, don't question it, I guess I should also say, so Vestroya was originally a planet, but it had a core, right? And the core at some point, like, performed mitosis or some shit. It split into 2 different cores. It divided its negative energy from its positive energy. So the positive core became known as the Infinity Core, and the negative one became known as the Silent Core. And these 2 cores sort of orbited each other like binary stars. They continued to preserve balance, but with this new configuration, Vestroya also split into 6 different spaces, one of each element. So Vestroya was less of a planet and more like a nebula now. Is very odd.
That's actually pretty cool, bro.
Yeah, like the imagery almost looks like 6 little colored galaxies that are sort of orbiting a central space. It is very neat. And Bakugan in one space can't really get to the other spaces. It's exceedingly rare for, say, a Darkest Bakugan to meet a Pyrus Bakugan. An example I pulled up for no reason. So one day, Drago's like sort of chilling out in Pyrus space, like it sure is fiery here. And 2 Bakugan suddenly wander in. The last 2 of the White Ones, the brother known as Naga and the sister known as Wyvern. Drago and Naga didn't really fuck with each other like that. Naga's kind of a real prick, but Wyvern, she got them dragon titties. Not actually, but you know. So Wyvern, because they're both like dragons as well, right? There's a bunch of dragons in Bakugan. It's pretty cool, actually. So Wyvern and Drago kind of had like a romance. Not even kind of. It's pretty explicit that they had a relationship. So I guess there was some prejudice against them because they're weirdo freaks. You know, they got no elements or anything. They're weird blank ass white bodies. And Naga was not a fan of the prejudice. He's like, man, this is some bullshit. They treat me bad just because I'm white. Like, I don't like that. You know, I mean, honestly, realistically, I'm better than them. You know, they should be listening to me. Yo, yeah, they should be listening to me. I should rule over all Bakugan. But how could I do that? I would need some serious power. Is there any power that can overpower all 6 elements? Wait a second. Flashback. The fucking cores. They were able to divide all 6 elements. They could probably rule over all 6 elements too. If I am able to get the Infinity Core and the Silent Core, I would have unlimited power, Palpatine style, and I would be able to rule all Bakugan. oh, that would be rad. But I have no way to get to the core area. Meanwhile, on Earth, there was a scientist, Dr. Michael Gahabik. That last name might sound familiar. He is the grandfather of Alice, one of the battle brawlers. Dr. Michael was testing an experiment for a dimensional transporter. He wanted to be able to create portals and gateways. And upon the first test, it malfunctioned. He got sucked through the portal, and there was sort of like an energy field that shattered, and it shot up into the atmosphere of the planet. And the energy crystallized and took the form of cards, which are the cards that rain down all over the planet. And because these cards were made of like portal energy, that's also why a bunch of Bakugan got sucked up from Vestroya and transported through the cards to Earth. And the like environmental energies of Vestroya are very different from what they are on Earth. So when they're on Earth, instead of being giant monsters, their bodies transform into these tiny balls where they have limited mobility, they've got no strength, they're essentially helpless. And it's never explicitly stated why the Bakugan didn't talk. I guess it's either because, like, maybe the transport scrambled their brains a little temporarily, or like they're just like, we don't know what the fuck these aliens are, so like we're not trying to talk to them. I don't know. Regardless, Bakugan don't really talk to people in the early stages of the game. So Dr. Michael woke up in pirate space of Vestroya, and he's like, this is crazy, I'm in another world. And Naga found him and trying to offer like an olive branch to the first alien that he meets. Dr. Michael offers one of the cards that were created, and Naga's like, yo, this can make a portal, that's awesome. And he takes the card and sort of sends Michael back. Michael wakes up on Earth, and he finds out that time in Vestroya works differently than it does on Earth. So it's already been a few months since he disappeared. And children have already made the Bakugan game. Naga gets into a confrontation with Drago, who knows he's up to some snake shit. He uses the card, opens a portal, flies into the core area. He's like, awesome, I'm going to start absorbing the 2 cores into my body. I'm going to start with the silent core. And he starts absorbing the silent core, but it's way too much power for him, and it actually pulls a Uno reverse card, and his body gets absorbed into the core instead, and he gets trapped in there. And that causes an explosion of negative energy, which radiates outward. It like brainwashes a bunch of the Bakugan, makes them all evil by infecting them with negative energy. It tears down the barriers between the different spaces, so a Darkest Sphere Ripper suddenly appears before Drago, who was a Pyrus Dragonoid, and they start getting into a scuffle. And there's a few other effects that happen. So one is that the explosion of energy actually knocks the Infinity Core out of its orbit, and it crashes through dimensions and into Wavern. And so Wavern merges with the Infinity Core and gets sent to Earth. One other thing is that somewhere along all this, the like energy explosion or the original test, something causes the same phenomenon of raining cards to happen to another alien planet called Vestal. And so Vestal wound up getting its own history with the Bakugan game, similar to how Earth Children did. I should say the Vestals look exactly like humans. Like, maybe they have a little bit more weird hair colors, but that's it.
All right.
Gundalians and Nethians definitely do not look like humans. Gundalians have like these like goblin-y, like dragonic, like horned bodies. They're kind of creepy. And the Nethians are like weirdly like angular and smooth alien looking guys with big old bug eyes. But anyway, so the last effect of the Silent Core merging with Naga is that an explosion of negative energy washes out of Dr. Michael's portal, and his granddaughter Alice happens to be there with him, and they both become like washed in negative energy, and it transforms both of them. Dr. Michael becomes this disgusting little goblin man with like a Dracula cape called Hal G. And Alice develops an alter ego. Her hair goes straight up and turns blonde, like she's going Super Saiyan. She gets a new outfit. She manifests a mask, like a visor that she wears on her face. She starts being a lot more aggressive and speaks in a masculine voice and calls herself Masquerade. And because Naga is merged with the Silent Core, they both want to serve Naga. So while all that shit's happening, Dan is in the middle of a brawl, and he is brawling a guy, Shuji, who is currently using Darkest Bakugan, and Dan's got his Pyrus. So it's fire versus darkness. They've each used 2 Bakugan, meaning that they have like one more Bakugan that they can send in. And Dan activates the gate card Quartet Battle, meaning that they would each add 2 more Bakugan into the battle, 1 Pyrus and 1 Darkus. And because like the dimensions were aligning at this exact moment, the Pyrus Dragonoid and the Darkest Sphere Ripper that were in the middle of fighting get transported to their battle, meaning that Drago is now technically part of Dan's team. And after the battle, Dan finds out that Drago talks, and apparently this event was enough to get a bunch of the Bakugan talking, so the message boards around the world start blowing up about Bakugan talking. Drago tells Dan, like, you treat Bakugan like we're toys, like we're some kind of game, but we're living creatures and we're fighting a war for our world. I'm trying to prevent the destruction of my home. And Dan is a little 12-year-old shit who doesn't understand the severity of that immediately. But sort of his arc in the beginning of the show is realizing how serious this is, and becoming a true ally to the Bakugan. So him and the other 6 brawlers, they all start forming their own partner Bakugan. Marucho finds this little Deadpool motherfucker named Preyas, who is kind of like a chameleon, and as a result, he has the ability to change his attributes from Aquas to Subterra or Darkus. Shun has a big phoenix that sounds like a grandma named Skyrus. I should say, like, Shun and Dan are considered to be like best friends, but they're also kind of like the Naruto Sasuke rivalry.
Oh, okay.
So something very cool that I very recently, like a month ago, realized about them is that so they're fire and wind, right? Drago, he's a dragon. Obviously, he's fire, but like a dragon, he's got wings, so he can fly. And then for Shun, Skyrus, well, she's a giant bird, so obviously she's wind. But she's a phoenix, so she can also catch fire, like green fire. So it's like they're both representing a little bit of each other in that they both got fire and wind stuff going on.
That's cool.
Yeah. Some gay shit. So okay. What all that boils down to essentially is that for season 1, Bakugan Battle Brawlers, Masquerade appears. Nobody knows who the fuck this dude is, dude in quotation marks, and he immediately becomes the #1 brawler in the world. He starts like brainwashing a few people, using negative energy, trying to make his Hydronoid is his Bakugan, the strongest Bakugan in the world. He wants to evolve it to a point where it can become a super loyal soldier for Naga. Excuse me. And I should say one other thing about the game. Masquerade plays a card called the Doom card at the start of every match. And normally when a Bakugan loses, they just turn back into a ball and fly back to their owner. When the Doom card is in play, if a Bakugan loses, a big portal appears above them and they get sucked up into it. And they are sent to the Doom dimension. And the Doom dimension is the final resting place of all Bakugan. There is no returning from the Doom dimension. In fact, in Japanese, it's called the Death dimension.
So they just don't ever get them back.
Yeah, is what normally would happen, but they cheat. So, yeah, they typically you don't get Bakugan back from the Doom dimension. But through the course of the series, they meet 6 ancient legendary warriors who apparently have the ability to, like, the ancient heroes of Vestroya, I guess, are strong and wise enough that they can just send Bakugan back from the Doom dimension, and so they wind up getting their Bakugan back. But it feels like a cop-out. I should say it is still presented like it's very rare. Like it's sort of unprecedented that something like that could happen, but they managed to do it, so I don't know. But yeah, for most of the series, their Bakugan that they lose to the Doom dimension, they can't play with anymore. And by the time they get them back, they've sort of transitioned from 3-on-3 matches into 1-on-1, so they don't really use those other Bakugan anyway.
All right.
But the big thing, the reason that even happened is because in order to fight Masquerade, they needed to evolve their Bakugan. Well, Dan's Drago evolved at one point by himself into Delta Dragonoid, who's got like more silver on him. He's got like 3 horns now. It was pretty cool. He gained meteor-based abilities in that form. It was very neat. And he got into a match with Masquerade and his Hydronoid, who had evolved into Dual Hydronoid, who now has 2 heads. Because he's a Hydra, you see. And Dan and Drago lost. So as Drago was getting sucked up into the Doom dimension, Dan like dove in after him. And so the others were like, we need to save Dan specifically. And so they allowed themselves to lose and get sent to the Doom dimension as well. They were like, either we're all finding a way out of this together or none of us is coming back.
Damn.
Yeah. And so when they were in the Doom dimension, that's where they met the 6 legendary warriors. And they were like, we're going to test you. If you can pass our tests, you'll gain the ability to evolve, and we'll get you out of the Doom dimension. And they all passed their tests except for Dan, who had to go through an extra test where he had to fight all of his friends 1-on-1. And only by beating all of them did he get the opportunity for Drago to evolve into Ultimate Dragonoid. And Alice was told to stay behind and not go into the Doom Dimension because, you know, you don't have a Bakugan, Alice. We don't want you getting hurt. And she's like, oh, okay. And they all leave. And then the mask goes on and she's Masquerade. She's like, I should point out she doesn't know that she's Masquerade.
Okay.
Like Alice is good. She does not know that she is a bad guy. But yeah, so the whole thing happens, they get sent back, and then Masquerade actually chooses to go into the Doom Dimension because there is one of the 6 legendary warriors that didn't get to test anyone. Exedra, who's like I should say they all have like little ceremonial like forms that look humanoid and have robes, but then they ditch those robes and turn into their actual monster forms. And Exedra, his monster form is that he's legitimately like a 7-headed Hydra. And he didn't test anyone because there was no Darkest Brawler there. So Masquerade fights him to steal his power. And he succeeds, and Hydronoid evolves into Alpha Hydronoid, which has 3 heads. Not only does he have 3 heads, he has a giant metal saw blade on his belly. So like one of his abilities is to shoot out these gross little snake-like whip things to wrap the opponent up and drag them closer, and then he spins the saw blade on his belly and pulls the opponent into him, and he grinds the fucking saw blade against them.
That's badass.
It's really cool. But yeah, so what this ultimately boils down to is that Masquerade and Dan have one of the coolest brawls ever. They go to like a football stadium, and when they open the field, they're in like a coliseum. And it's just a one-on-one match. Alpha Hydronoid versus Ultimate Dragonoid. And they just go for hours at each other. And their clothes are like getting more and more torn up. And it's very shonen. Masquerade, who has constantly been this arrogant, smug prick who acts like, you know, he's always in control. He starts fucking losing it. He's screaming. He's like, how dare you keep standing up to me like this? Do you hear me, Dan? And Dan's just like, heh. And it all comes down to one final shot. I should say there's a special kind of ability card called fusion abilities, which have to be used in conjunction with another ability card. So Dan is essentially down to one card. Drago is using his Ultimate Dragonoid ability, and Dan throws in his last card, which is a fusion ability called Exceed. He throws it into the fireball, and it makes the fireball huge. And he manages to land a decisive blow against Hydronoid. They go back to the normal football stadium. Both Masquerade and Dan are like lying on the ground, completely spent. And Masquerade's like, I can't believe I lost. What's even weirder is I don't even feel bad about it. And Dan's like, yeah, because it was a good match. You know, you've been an evil prick this whole time, but I think deep down you really do love this game. So will you join us to help us like fight to protect it? And he offers Masquerade a hand, and Masquerade like starts to reach for it, and then he just reaches up and grabs his mask. He's like, sorry, Dan, not this time, and pulls his mask off, and everyone is shocked to see that it's Alice, and like her hair goes back down, changes color, and she's just like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? How'd I get here? And she realizes that like her and her grandfather have been the baddies this whole time. She's very upset. And things sort of hit the end game. Oh, I guess I should say the webmaster who runs their website, Joe, he winds up teaming up with Wavern, who he finds. And Wavern got into a match with Masquerade and his Hydronoid at one point, and Wavern beat the shit out of them because she's got the power of the Infinity Core. But it's also stated that Wyvern, her fusion with the core was very rushed. Her body was not prepared for it, so it actually hurts her when she uses infinity abilities. Like, she's basically slowly dying. Even though the core is giving life to everything, it's too much power for her body to handle. So that's part of the reason they wanted to evolve their Bakugan into an ultimate Bakugan whose body is strong enough to handle that power. Things go fucking crazy when they decide to go on the offensive, take the battle to Naga before he fully merges with the power of the Silent Core. They go to Vestroya, and everything's fucked. The dimensions are bleeding into each other. Ventus and Aquas have merged to form a new ice realm. Subterra and Chaos have merged Earth and Light to form like a crystalline, glowy realm. And then Pyrus and Darkus, Fire and Darkness, merged, and it's basically just hell. And so Naga has 6 new troops that are like fusion element Bakugan. One is a giant fish named Hagen, so when they knock it out of the water, they're like, yeah, now I can't use any of its Aquas abilities. And then it just starts flying through the air, and they're like, oh, fuck. Yeah, so it makes some weird shit. And they fight their way all the way to the core of Vestroya, and the Silent Core and Naga are not there. Turns out he's already fully merged with it, and he let them go on the offensive so that he could sneak around them, and now he's on Earth, and he's just fucking everything up, trying to get to Wyvern and the Infinity Core. They get back there. There's a big battle for the planet happening on Earth, where all the children of the world have suddenly become soldiers, and they're fighting, and the adults are like, we don't know what's going on. Little Billy, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm gonna beat him up with my Bakugan. And it's very funny seeing like the adult news reporters trying to figure out what the fuck is happening with all the kids fighting with these monsters. And like only a handful of adults at this point know anything. Like Dan's mom is one of the few people on the planet that's an adult that realizes Bakugan are living creatures, because Dan explained things to her. So she winds up explaining things to the rest of the parents of the brawlers. It's very funny seeing them all, like these grown-ass couples just sitting around being like, so Bakugan's not just a game? But yeah, it all comes down to Silent Naga, as he's now known, with his partner Hal G. They're attacking Wyvern, and they're trying to pull the Infinity Core out of her. And she begs Drago that he has to kill her. And when he does, the Infinity Core will go to him. And so he fires a fireball at Naga, seemingly. Naga doesn't even have to make effort to dodge it. He's like, hey, you should aim better, only to see that it hits Wyvern behind him. And the Infinity Core goes to Drago, and he becomes Infinity Dragonoid. And a big section of the land rises up into the sky. And so Drago and Naga, with their partners Dan and Halji, have one final battle. And they find out that as Infinity Dragonoid, Drago can use abilities from all 6 elements. And the other brawlers send all their Bakugan up to help him. And they all merge their powers into one. And they have a literal beam struggle between Drago and Naga. And then there's this really gay and unnecessary animation where like it shows the hexagonal circle, which is like the symbol of Destroy and everything. And then it shows all 6 brawlers. And then Runo and Dan look at each other and they run up and do a little dance and then hold hands and they scream Bakugan and then they win. And it's like, but I said at the start, I hate Runo. And let me explain why. She is the fucking tsundere archetype taken to an extremely obnoxious level. And her English voice actor is really fucking grating to listen to. And just the writing and everything. I do not like Runo. She's really fucking irritating. She has like no redeeming qualities. She is the Sakura of this show. And unfortunately, this is like, what if Naruto wound up with Sakura? And it's just as obnoxious as you would think it is. In fact, like, it's pretty clear at the end of the first series that they're dating. Like, they go on a date with each other with casual wear, and Runo hugs his arm. And in the next series, like, when he's gone, she's got him as her like phone background. And there's a bit where because Dan is interacting with another girl named Mira, who is much better, he mentions Runo, and she's like, "Who's this Runo?" And she's like, "Is she your girlfriend?" And he's like, "No, she's not my girlfriend." And like a couple others are like, "She's not," and he's like, "No, she's not." And Drago comes out, and he just pops open, and then he looks up at Dan, and he's like, "She's not." And he turns to Shun, who is like, again, he's a loner type. He doesn't talk too much. He's pretty serious. He doesn't fuck around a lot. He's like, "Can you believe this shit, Shun?" And Shun just like takes a sip of his tea, and then he just like closed eyes. He's like, "She's not." It's honestly kind of funny. But yeah, Dan's cheating aside, season 1 is not very good. I struggled to get through it. But I did that struggle for season 2, where everything becomes fucking rad. Before I talk about it, I'll do a little ad break. Okay, there's the ad break. So I guess I should ask before we start, do you have any questions so far about anything with season 1?
No, it's actually very interesting. I might end up watching it now.
Yeah, like, I should say, for your first time watching through, it's not hard to watch. It's very interesting. The designs of the monsters, the progression of the plot, it is all fun for a first watch through. For me, it became difficult when I tried watching it the second time, because now, without the mystery and mystique of what's going on, like, pulling me from episode to episode, I was able to focus a lot more on like the bad writing. and one of the biggest problems of the English version of the show is that in the first season they make a lot of errors. I mean, a lot of errors, like easily identifiable errors that they didn't bother to fix. Like there's a bit in the last episode 52. They've been doing this for 52 episodes, naming the 6 elements. And there's a bit where Shun, who is the Ventus guy, who knows full well that wind attribute abilities are called Ventus, sees Drago use a Ventus ability and goes, "Look, he's using a Darkus ability." That was in episode 52. And they do shit like that all the time. They say the names wrong. They continually sometimes will say gate card open when they really mean gate card set. Sometimes they change the name of a Bakugan. One thing that I don't like about season 2, which is Bakugan New Vestroya, is that they'll change a couple of their voice actors halfway through the season. It's very jarring because, like, in season 2, Shun is partnered with the Bakugan named not Hawktori, that's Scandalian Invaders, but Ingram. Ingram is initially depicted as a woman, and then suddenly, halfway through the series, Ingram is a man. No explanation. Just Ingram was always that way. Shut up. Some real Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle shit. I guess I should also say, after they beat Naga, and they did beat him, they vaporized that motherfucker. He is dust. The Silent Core then went to Drago. So he had both cores inside his body. And he's like, "Okay, here's the deal. All us Bakugan got to go back to Vestroya. I will merge the two cores inside my body. I will become the new perfect core of Vestroya, and I'll fix our world. And so they do that, and he flies into the core area, and his body becomes the new perfect core of the planet. And it does become a planet again. He pulls all the elements together properly, and it becomes an actual planet in the cosmos once again, not just this weird nebula shit. And so all the Bakugan live in peace for about 3 years. And then the Vestals, those guys that also had cards rained down on them, they invade. It's a literal alien invasion. Because the Vestals were like, hey, we've got much better technology than humans. And as a result, we've been reproducing a lot more than humans. We're facing overpopulation. Hey, look, a new world to colonize. Sweet. So they traveled with spaceships to Vestroya and colonized the shit out of it. They set up giant dimension controllers, which produce the same energy field that was on Earth, meaning that they forcefully turn all the Bakugan into balls in their own homeworld.
Damn.
Which makes them very easy to abduct. And so the Vestals have big sporting events, big arenas. They don't tell their citizenry that the Bakugan are sentient creatures. They want them all to be like Dan was in the beginning, where they all think it's just a game. And it's very effective. And the girl I mentioned, Mira, she is the daughter of Professor Clay, who is the head scientist for the Vexos. The Vexos are the 6 top brawlers who serve the royal family. They report directly to Prince Hydron, and there is one of every element. The Darkest Brawler is Shadow Prove. The Ventus Brawler is Link. The Chaos Brawler is Volt. The Aqua Brawler is Mylene. The Subterra Brawler is Gus Grav. And the number 1 brawler on New Vestroya is the Pyrus Brawler, Spectra Phantom, who is a guy wearing a mask. They're basically doing Masquerade again. Get used to it. They'll do it again. But Spectra's really cool. He's got like a black feather boa collar kind of shit going on. So like whenever he enters a scene, there seems to be like crow feathers. So kind of an Itachi vibe. It's pretty cool. So Professor Clay's daughter Mira comes into one of the science facilities one day, unexpected, and she actually sees Hydronoid, who is being experimented on and tortured. And he screams, "Do your worst, human." And she's like, "Oh my god, that Bakugan just spoke. Are we colonizers? Have we been abducting actual sentient beings this whole time?" And she confronts her father, and he basically tells her to fucking drop it. And she sees her brother, who sees named Keith, who sees all this shit going down, but then he disappears, and she doesn't know what happened to him. So she assumes that he's out there fighting to free the Bakugan, and she decides to do the same. She forms the Bakugan Battle Brawler Resistance, and she manages to recruit 2 other people. Darkest Brawler named Ace Grit, who was like a champion battle brawler, and a little fanboy named Baron. Baron is a huge fan of the original 6 brawlers from Earth. Apparently, he just really wants to go to Earth so he can meet those brawlers. But yeah, so the 3 of them are the Resistance, and their plan is to go to the 3 different cities, which each have a dimension controller, break them to let the Bakugan turn back into their monster forms to defend themselves. the Vexos are basically hunting him down. And with all this shit going on, Drago is just now a little energy core in the middle of the planet. He's like, God, I wish I could help. I miss the days where I had an actual physical body. And so the 6 soldiers of Astroya show up and are like, yo, we can help you out with that. And they all shoot laser beams at him, and he feels like his body is being ripped apart, but they create a new body for him. And they're like, now, just so you know, we had to keep the core behind. So all that power you had, you don't have it. You're weaker than you used to be. You also will look different. He becomes a form now called Neo Dragonoid, which is the one that when it pops open, it spins. And what's really cool is that has an effect on battle, actually. When Dan throws him onto the card, he pops open, he spins, and it forms a fire tornado, which can actually attack the opponents as he's entering the battlefield.
Oh, that's sick.
It was really cool. But yeah, speaking of Dan, so Drago travels through a dimensional portal to Earth, pops up. It's been 3 years, so nobody's had Bakugan for 3 years. He appears in front of Dan. He's like, yo, what's up, man? It's me. He's like, oh my God, Drago, it's so good to see you. It's like, yeah, great. Hey, there's a civil war happening on my planet. It's an alien invasion. I need your help. He's like, all right, sure. And they leave Runo and Julie behind. Marucho was going to get left behind, but he tags along with them anyway. So it becomes a boys only thing. Especially because it turns out Shun is already on New Vestroya. Apparently a portal just randomly opened up in front of him when he was leaping from tree to tree. Oh, I forgot. Shun is actually a ninja.
Like, really?
Yeah, like he's a legitimate, okay, when I say he's actually a ninja, I mean like he takes like 50-foot falls and lands on his feet. He throws cards like they're fucking shuriken. Marucho's rich, so like they travel around the world using like an airship that his family owns, and for most of them the airship lands and they get on the ship like normal people, but whenever Shun has to board, they just fly over his dojo and he throws a fucking grappling hook up and then just hangs onto the rope and they just keep flying.
That's dope.
So yeah, he was leaping from tree to tree doing ninja training, and a portal literally just opened in front of him, and he was like, "Oops, I guess I'm in New Vestroya now." Yeah. So, Shun, Marucho, and Dan. Here's the thing: in every series, they will always replace the Subterra, Chaos, and Darkest brawlers, but Shun, Marucho, and Dan continue to remain the Pyrus, Aquas, and Ventus brawlers, and they keep finding new excuses to give new partners to Marucho and Shun, but Dan will always be partnered with Drago. He is the only one that gets to keep his fucking Bakugan.
Damn.
Yeah. I've already been talking for a while, so I'm not going to go on too long about this. Long story short is that New Vestroya introduced a couple new things. First of all, there is a life gauge now. You have 500 life points, and when you lose a battle, you lose life points based on the difference between your opponent's Bakugan and yours. When you hit 0, it's game over. And you mostly just do one-on-one battles now. You don't have a team of 3 like you did before. Like you can, but nobody really does that. And if you lose a battle by 500 points or more, your Bakugan gets captured. Like, you have to give your Bakugan to the enemy. And all Bakugan that were part of the battle that lost by 500 points or more. So, like, there's actually a battle between Shadow, Prove, and Baron. And Shadow throws in 3 Bakugan in a single match. And Baron beats him by over 500 points. And so he captures all 3 of Shadow's Bakugan.
Damn.
Yeah.
I hate that rule.
Well, it makes sense for them because it's like the Vexos are trying to like control and brainwash more Bakugan while the Resistance are trying to free them.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah. So in their mind, they liberated 3 Bakugan from Shadow's possession. But yeah, it would definitely suck to lose your fucking Bakugan in a match. It happened to Drago one time. Spectra beat Dan by more than 500 points, took Drago, and then the next time they saw Spectra, he used Drago, who now had like a black body. Instead, like Spectra's color scheme is black and red, while
Mm.
Dan and Drago's thing is like red and gold. Well, now Drago was black and red, and he had like blank like berserker eyes, and it was very unnerving. He was clearly brainwashed and turned evil, but it was kind of cool though. But yeah, turns out Spectra was Keith. Oh my God, Mira's long lost brother. He was Racer X the whole time. And there winds up being a lot of twists and turns. There are certain members of the Vexos that want to turn on the royal family. Eventually, Prince Hydron stops being a little pussy ass baby and has to take matters into his own hands, so he becomes a brawler, and he gets one of the coolest fucking Bakugan ever called Dryoid. And Dryoid is way too cool for Hydron, who's a little bitch. I should also say Professor Clay starts developing mechanical Bakugan. Mechanical Bakugan are seen by natural Bakugan as some kind of abomination, which is very weird because in season 1 we definitely had Bakugan like Robottalion, who is a robot, but apparently he's not a mechanical Bakugan.
How would he not be a mechanical Bakugan?
Well, I guess the idea is that mechanical Bakugan, quote unquote, are like man-made. Like, it wasn't evolution that somehow eventually resulted in a Bakugan being a robot man.
Oh. Still kind of weird though.
It's very weird, but but whatever. But one of the big things is that season 2 introduced Bakugan traps, and trap Bakugan they are literally any other shape. There's a couple of pyramid ones. There's ones that are like cylinders. Here's ones that are straight up cubes.
That's neat.
Yeah, and they pop open in a bunch of different ways. It's very cool. But what you do is you essentially throw in a trap Bakugan as a second Bakugan as backup. And they have fewer abilities than a normal Bakugan, but you can use those abilities in combination with your normal Bakugan's abilities, and it can do some cool shit. But by the end, the leader of the vessels, King Zinaheld, he's tried a couple of different methods of just murdering all the Bakugan. Because, like, upon losing in the first arc, he's like, fuck this shit. I'm going to create a giant bomb, essentially, called a Bakugan termination system. And I'm just going to fucking wipe out everyone. And he actually stole all the power of the 6 legendary warriors to power that bomb. And Drago wound up absorbing all that power. And he evolved into his coolest form, Helix Dragonoid. So up until now, Drago has had wings that are attached to his arms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Helix Dragonoid looks like he has like knight armor, and his wings are now coming out of his back, so separate from his arms. Like, do me a favor and just Google Helix Dragonoid, because he is my favorite form of Drago in the entire series.
All right.
And he has a gem on his chest that he starts having from the time when he's Infinity Dragonoid. So like this gem on his chest actually connects him to the perfect core. So sometimes he can use like way overpowered abilities, but he doesn't like have control of when he has access to them.
Oh, he's sick looking.
Right? It's so cool. It's like I don't hate the future designs that he gets, but I think this is where he peaked.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah. Helix Dragonoid is so fucking cool. All right. So and so after the whole bomb thing doesn't work, they develop the alternative weapon system, which is basically just a Star Destroyer. It's a giant red Lego Star Destroyer essentially, and Kings and the Held's Bakugan is Farbaros, which is a Lego dragon. I say Lego because he's very cubic. Like, it's odd to me that their strongest mechanical Bakugan is like one of the least sleek and streamlined. Like Dryoid, he's basically like a brown ninja with fucking lightsabers. He's one of the coolest motherfuckers in the entire series. Um, and yet Farbaros is above him, even though he looks like he was made by a fucking child. So, whatever. But he hooks Farbaros up to this giant Star Destroyer, and that's the alternative weapon system, and he's just going to blow the fuck out of the planet. And at this point, Spectra has decided to join the good guys. He's like, yeah, I'm done being evil. I'm going to be your brother Keith again, and I'm going to help save all the Bakugan. I think it's mostly because the royal family are now hunting for his head, but whatever. We'll take what we can get, right? So he's like, look, check it. I snuck into one of the science facilities and stole one of their latest developments. It's called Battle Gear. And Battle Gear would be the main thing in season 3, but they got it at the end of season 2. And he got one for Helios, his Bakugan, who, by the way, is a cyborg at this point because he was getting mechanical Bakugan enhancements to Helios, so he became a cyborg.
Dope.
He is a cyborg dragon, and it's really fucking cool. And it only becomes cooler when the battle gear he swiped is a giant fucking cannon that just straps onto Helios's back, and he just blows a hole through the ship.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's insane. The ending of New Vestroia is literally a battle in space where cyborg dragons and night dragons are flying into the spaceship and having battles, and it's so fucking insane, but it's really cool. And they blow that shit up. They blow it up. The king, the prince, they're dead. Like, they murdered those motherfuckers. Most of the other Vexos also already died before this. There's a really upsetting one. The Ventus Brawler Link, he actually he was stranded on Earth for a while towards the end of the series, and Alice actually was like giving him a place to stay and food and stuff like that. And it was clear that because he was still trying to be like a Weasley little bitch, that she didn't like him. But that made him ask the question. He's like, you hate me. Why are you still helping me? And she's like, because I actually value life. Like, I don't like you, but I don't want you to die. And it becomes very clear that he like falls in love with her because of that. And he was actually like he went on like a little secret mission to try and get some data for her and for her friends, you know, to be able to stop the big bomb thing. And they hunted him down and fucking murdered him. And like in his last moments, he was able to like chuck the little data drive that he had. So Alice found it in the snow. And so he literally sacrificed his life to help her.
Oh.
Yeah. It's really upsetting for a kid's show. But yeah, so New Vestroia was very cool. I think it had some problems here and there. You know what sucks? Okay, Ace, the Darkest Brawler. Ace sucks. He is a bitch. He is the type that's constantly confrontational, but acting like he's so cool, but he's really not that cool. And it sucks because even though I don't like him, his Bakugan Percival is one of the coolest fucking things in the entire show. You know how it was like Helix Dragonoid is kind of like a night dragon?
Yeah.
Percival is a night dragon. He has a cape. When he evolves into Midnight Personal, he has a sword.
Damn.
He is like, look up Bakugan Percival to see what I mean. But he's also got some of the coolest abilities. Darkest Driver is like his cape becomes super long and he like flies through the air and he spins and the horns on his shoulder like point together and he becomes basically a big drill. Or Trigunner, he's got tiny little dragon heads on his wrists and like each one opens up and makes an energy blast. So he just makes like a triple beam attack. He has one where he points to the sky like he's from fucking Gurren Lagann, and a black lightning bolt, or a purple lightning bolt rather, shoots down.
Oh, he's pretty cool looking.
Right? All right. I'll wrap up New Vestroya. So then they move on to Bakugan Gundalian Invaders. Marucha developed a virtual reality system called Bakugan Interspace. And people from all over the world on Earth are able to just get into their little VR pods and they play in the virtual environment of Bakugan Interspace. He got data from the vessels on a couple of other types of Bakugan that they've never seen before. So Marucho pairs up with a new Bakugan called Aquamos. Shun pairs up with one called Hawktor. And of course, Dan stars Drago because he's the main character and fuck everyone else, I guess. And while they're like beta testing Bakugan Interspace, someone that they've never met walks up. He's got dark skin, he's got white hair, his name is Ren, and he's like, hey, can I help? And so they just let him help, and he helps set up Bakugan Interspace, and so he becomes their friend. And then one day he's like, all right, guys, I gotta tell you, I'm secretly an alien. I'm a Gundalian, and we've had Bakugan for a long time, but we're at war with a planet called Nethia, and those Nethians, ooh, those dirty bastards, they're real fucking, they're scum, and they hate Bakugan, and we love them, obviously. So you got to help us stop the Nethians. And of course, Dan is like, I've got some experience with fighting aliens. So yeah, I'll help you. And they see this girl, Fabia Sheen, and she shows up, and he's like, she's an Nethian, fuck her up. And they just like, it's like on site, they fight with Fabia, and she's like, oh, the Gundalians got to them. And eventually they come to find out, actually, the Gundalians are kind of the assholes. So they wind up teaming up with Fabia and the Nethians, and Ren has this cool storyline in Gundalian Invaders where it's very clear that he's loyal to Gundalia. He is a bad guy, but he did genuinely become friends with them. And so you see that there's times where he could overpower them, but he like holds back because he doesn't want to hurt them. His Bakugan is called Linehalt, who's kind of like a demon knight thing. He's pretty cool. I still think Percival is cooler, but Linehalt is pretty cool. And it's actually cool because like there's like things sort of come to a head, and eventually it becomes like this thing of you can't ride on the fence anymore, you got to pick a side, and he straight up betrays his king named Barodius to help the brawlers. It's very cool. I like Ren a lot. Also their new Subterra brawler is a big surfer dude named Jake Valerie, and Jake apparently knows Julie, so Julie has taken it to be like the mentor figure to teach him how to be a Subterra brawler. Jake is kind of incompetent at first, but he has this Bakugan Cordum, who Cordum is really cool. He's he's just like a sort of angular stone golem guy, and he's just really neat. I like him. I had a Cordum in my real life collection. So Jake actually becomes one of the best by the end of the series. It's very cool. But yeah, they straight up have a big battle on Nethia. King Barodius himself, or Emperor Barodius, whatever his name is, fights with Dan, and as the two are fighting, they suddenly get whisked away into this weird space, and they talk to Code Eve herself. Code Eve is like, I created all the Bakugan, and I'm going to empower both of you. And they're like, why? Why us? What's happening? And she's like, because you two each have the descendants of my original Bakugan. Dan, your Dragonoid is the descendant of the original Dragonoid. Barodius has Darak, who is the descendant of Darachnoid. And so I've seen enough wars going on recently with Bakugan that I've decided that I'm going to have you guys ultimately settle this shit. Whoever wins this battle is basically going to be in charge of the direction Bakugan go in from now on. And so she evolves both of them to like higher forms. They have a big old fight, and obviously Dan and Drago win. And their result is they evolve again. They literally had their new form for a single episode before they evolved again. It's stupid. But now Drago is Titanium Dragonoid, who his abilities are much cooler than his design, I think. And this is where, for season 4, a bunch of Bakugan had metal bottoms. Like the top half of the Bakugan ball was still colored, right? And the bottom half was straight up chrome.
Really?
Yeah. It was a little jarring at first, but I did wind up thinking it was pretty cool. But yeah, so Gandalian Invaders was very cool, arguably the best season in the entire show. Because while I like New Vestroya, it had a couple of issues, like the fact that Runo's in it. And she's not in season 3. That's the only season without Runo. It's kind of weird that I think that it might be the best one. And so then season 4 continues being about Bakugan Inner Space. But now there's some evil force named Magmel, a big golden armored guy, with a Bakugan called Raisinoid, who is like a fucking eldritch horror dragon, basically. And he's just got a shit ton of teeth and eyes, and he's terrifying to look at. And they're just wanting to fuck shit up. And they're like, who the fuck is this Magmel dude? You know, I thought that we had taken care of all the threats to the Bakugan. Cody said that we were done with that shit, but I guess we got to deal with him. Turns out Magmel is Barodius. Him and Darak mutated monster forms when they lost or something. I can't remember very well, but the point is that they're still around. They're still trying to fuck shit up. They're much more evil and more powerful than before. And okay. Season 1 didn't have any gimmicks. Season 2 had the Trap Bakugan. Season 3 had Battle Gear. Battle Gear was really cool, by the way, because they would actually attach to the Bakugan. Like you roll your Bakugan to the card, it opens up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, with Helix Dragonoid, because he's got sort of like a little top half inside the ball, you push him forward and he leans down, and there's these 2 pegs. And what you do is you put a Battle Gear on top of the 2 pegs, and there's little slots for those pegs. And when you push it down, the Battle Gear pops open. And so it's attached to your Bakugan.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. Battle Gear were very cool, and they were replaced with the far inferior Baku Nanos, which don't look like they're supposed to connect to the Bakugan. They're differently colored. They're smaller. They're much less interesting when they pop open. I don't care for the Bakunanos, but you would think, okay, Bakunanos, that's like the gimmick for the season, right? Wrong. Turns out there's also Mectagon. Yes, that's right. Bakugan can now summon giant robots. I'm not kidding. They just fall out of the sky. It's like a Bakugan powers up like a goddamn Super Saiyan, and their aura like shoots into the sky, and it's swirling storm clouds, and then a fucking giant robot comes down. And if you thought that was ridiculous, the robot can then summon a more giant robot.
Oh my god. So it's pretty much like Aaron Logan now.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Which is why I brought it up when fucking Percival could point to the heavens and shoot a lightning bolt and shit. But yeah, there's Mectagon, and then there's Mectagon Destroyers, which are even bigger. And so there's literally a fight in the series where like Drago is fighting Raisinoid. They've got giant robots above them that are fighting each other, and then even bigger giant robots above them that are fighting each other. So it's just 3 simultaneous fights.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And Mectanium Surge was weird because unlike the other series, it was actually split into 2 very distinct storylines. The first half was all about the Magmel shit. The characters got redesigned again, and like new outfits and stuff. And like Marucho and Shun, their new Bakugan that they had at the beginning of Mectanium Surge, they replaced them again for other new Bakugan. So it feels like its own season. Though it's still technically part of season 4, Mectanium Surge. And the gimmick in Mectanium Surge was the Baku Sky Raiders, the one that jump. And also that now Bakugan can fuse together. So Marucho's Aquas Bakugan, who looks like a gross chicken thing, I don't like him, merges with this weird like Subterra thing, and they become a gross abomination. What's very cool is that Shun has stopped having bird Bakugan and now straight up has ninja Bakugan. And his Bakugan Jakor meets 2 darkest Bakugan. One is a bird and one is a dog. And I don't know if you know this, but for ninja, birds and dogs are considered the like ninja companions, or hawks and dogs specifically.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, in a lot of classical ninja Japanese artwork, hawks and dogs are considered not only to be companions of ninja, but able to be ninjas themselves, which is why Kakashi in Naruto is able to summon a bunch of ninja dogs.
Oh.
And then the Inazuka clan and everything as well.
Before you go forward, I do have one question.
What's up?
When you say that they merge, are they merging like Voltron type of merge, or is it like
Kind
different?
of. The balls actually are able to connect to each other. And okay, so as an example, Drago. He fuses with a Chaos Bakugan called Reptak. And do you know what Jetfire Optimus Prime looks like?
Yeah.
How his top half is the red and blue and his bottom half is the white?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Okay.
Drago's top half is still Drago, and his bottom half is like white legs. And it's cool. Yeah, look up Aero Blitz to see what I'm talking about. That's what their fused form is called.
All right.
It's like AEROBLITZ.
Oh, I remember seeing a commercial for that.
Really?
Yeah, that was forever ago. That's neat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he is cooler than I remember him looking, honestly. But yeah, so the two darkest Bakugan would merge with the Ventus Ninja, and then these guys would merge, and it was cool. But then also, oh yeah, okay, I forgot. In Gundalian Invaders, Drago got access to a thing called Dragonoid Colossus, which was basically just a giant mechanical dragon. So I guess this actually, the giant robot shit didn't start with season 4 technically, but in the back half of Mectanium Surge, they get access to a new kind of Mectagon. It's not just bigger. Thank God they didn't just keep making them bigger, but it's like a exosuit that Drago can like ride in.
Damn.
I gotta remember what he's fucking called. Mectagon Titan, I think it is.
I gotta look that up.
Wait, that's no. Titan is the giant ones that I was thinking of before. I think it's Mectagon Destroyer. Yeah, he's called Dragonoid Destroyer. And I personally think it's over-designed. Not a big fan of the way it looks.
Yeah, I don't think I like that either, actually.
Yeah. I should also point out that when I'm like, they're summoning giant robots, for the actual real-life game, you, as a mechanic, you could literally just pull out what is essentially an action figure and just put it down on the card.
Jesus.
and then the Mectagon Titans is just like a really big fucking beefy action figure that clearly can't fit on the card, and you just like, I played this. You're just like, are we playing the same fucking game? It was ridiculous. And with the whole story of Bakugan, it starts off with Dan being a 12-year-old, and by the end he's 18, and they defeat the last bad guys, and it's a whole big thing, and everyone else starts celebrating, and then they're like, wait, where's Dan? And it just cuts to Dan and Drago on like a little rowboat, like sailing out to sea, and Dan is like, I've been the number one brawler for so long now. It's time for me to give others a chance. Drago, you and I are going to go off on our own adventure now. He's like, sounds good. And then it ends. And
like that's the end of the entire series.
Yes and no, because they did reboot it.
Oh.
The reboot still has Dan Kuso as the main character. It's new art style, new team generally. For some reason, Shun got rebooted, but he's now the Aqua Sky.
Oh?
It's very jarring because not only did they switch him from wind to water, but also, you know how he was like super classically Japanese? He was a fucking ninja, black eyes, black hair. He's now like European or some shit. He's got blonde hair and blue eyes. I don't like it. Instead of being called the Bakugan Battle Brawlers, the main team now calls themselves the Awesome Ones.
Oh, that's lame.
It's very lame. The new version of Drago does not look as good. He looks a lot more mechanical and not in a cool way. Something that is interesting is that they replaced cards with these hexagonal tiles, and the idea is that you roll them onto these tiles, and whatever tile it lands on, you flip over, and it gives you more minor effects, but your opponent can be on a different tile. And like, I think that's neat in concept. I don't think it plays as well as just doing the cards. and I watched a few episodes of the new series, and I was like, it's fine, but it lost a lot of the charm of the original series, I think.
Hmm.
I haven't kept up with it enough to know if it like gets better, but I will tell you the theme song does not slap nearly as hard. To wrap things up, I'm gonna send you the two theme songs, okay?
All right.
Um,
I don't have my headphones on, so you'll be hearing them once I play them.
yeah. I don't want every theme song. I just want here it is. Copy link address. Okay. Do that one.
Is this the original or the new?
This is the new one. I want to start you with the new one.
All right. That wasn't bad.
Oh, that was fast.
That
Now compare that to this.
wasn't bad.
Oh, that was fast. Now compare that to this. So what'd you think of that one?
That one definitely slaps harder.
The singer did not have to go as hard as he did, but he did.
And it made it awesome.
Fucking two worlds collide. Oh god, that shit had me fucking like going crazy when I was younger. All right. So yeah. Long story short, I think Bakugan is a very fun, very cool series with a lot of great ideas. There was always a little bit of issue in some like translation or certain characters' interpretations. They also deleted some like unnecessary shit from the English versions. Okay, like in the American version of the ending, we get to see every Bakugan partner saying goodbye to their human partner, except for Shun. We don't ever get to see Shun say goodbye to Skyrus, and their relationship was a big deal because Shun's mom. Okay, in the American version, Shun's mom is in a coma or she's sick, even though she clearly was shown dying in the hospital bed. Um, and in Japanese, she's dead, right? And the last thing that she ever gave to him was Skyrus as a Bakugan. And it's also very upsetting because when he was supposed to be like rushing back to the hospital, he stopped to play with Dan and he kept stalling the game because he wanted to make that moment last forever because they stopped time, right? So
Yeah.
he didn't ever want to let time progress because then it would have to, mean that his mom dies.
Oh.
Yeah. So Dan wasn't sure why he kept stalling the game, but he kept not letting battles resolve and stuff like that. And he was like, I just want to play this game forever. And eventually Dan convinced him to like end the game, go see his mom. And she gives Skyrus to him. So like in the Japanese version, when they're leaving, Skyrus like sort of flies up and gives him a little kiss on his nose. And it's very sweet and obviously an emotional payoff because Skyrus became like a motherly figure to Shun. And they cut that shit out of the American version. I don't fucking understand why.
They shouldn't have.
Yeah. And the cop out of because like in the scene when she dies and he's on top of the hospital bed like crying and stuff, like in the American version they had like her face isn't shown on screen, but they have the voice actors go, I'm all right, Shun, I'm just tired.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And it's like you guys know in the next season you have like people get blown apart and they die, so you might as well have just committed and let her be dead.
Yeah.
But whatever. Do I think that there's some issues? Yes, it's definitely not a perfect series, but it is a series I'm very glad to have gotten to see. Um, like I said, I think New Vestroya and Gundalian Invaders are the peak. I think Mectanium Surge, it starts to lose me a little bit towards the end, but look, at the end of the day, it's got dragons summoning giant robots. Um, so you got to bank a little bit on the factor of it's just really fucking cool. Oh, Drago also gets one of the coolest abilities in Mectanium Surge. So he transitions at some point from shooting fire to shooting straight up like plasma beams, like lasers, out of his mouth. And he gets an ability that's first called Revolutional, where he makes these like 3 red, like translucent discs that float in the air, and he shoots a laser beam, and for every disc that it passes through, the beam gets bigger. So when it passes through the 3rd and final disc, it's a huge fucking beam. And you're like, yeah, that's sick. That's cool. And it's not the first time that we've seen that sort of energy amplification disc thing. I think we first saw it in Gundalian Invaders. So it was sort of like he learned how to do that. And you're like, yeah, that's sick as fuck. It might be one of the coolest moves in the whole show. And then, like, in one scene where like things are serious, like Dan and Drago are having to race through a bunch of enemies and a giant robot is in their way, Dan just whips out an ability that we've never seen called Wonder Superior. I'm like, what is Wonder Superior? And Drago, like, screaming like he's like about to fucking explode. He's just like, and then he just like makes like 20 of those fucking discs.
Damn.
Just like a huge row of these discs, and he just shoots a laser beam, and it comes out like a fucking final flash, and it incinerates the giant robot. And I was like, "Oh my god!" It was insane, and it was really cool, and I loved it. The entire series was worth watching just for that. Okay. So, have I convinced you to check out Bakugan?
Yeah.
I'm glad. Okay. Where can they find your social media?
Shitposter of America for Facebook, or what was my fucking Twitter?
What wasn't it, Jay Vicarelli?
I think so. I'm checking right now. Yeah. Jay.
Yeah.
No, wait. No,
I
it's
remember,
literally just Jay
'cause you had-
Vicarelli.
Yeah, because you had to have me fucking spell it, or I had to have you spell it rather.
Yeah.
Because I can't spell your fucking last name. Yeah, you can find the Cape Corner stuff at Cape Corner on Twitter. You can find my personal Twitter stuff at Beyond Blue 13 on Twitter. You can follow the Hall of Pods podcast network. We're on there, but so is the Fandom Optimists and the SJW Comic Book Club and True Believers, a comic book podcast. They're all pretty cool. You can check them out. They're more organized than we are, so you know, if you're not so much about the chaos, that might be more for you. You can support the show on my Anchor page. It works just the same as Patreon. What else? I did the ad break. This is just gonna be me every time, just fucking trying to figure out if I missed anything. Share the episode with a friend. If you got any friends who happen to like Bakugan, share this episode. If you don't have any friends that are into Bakugan, which is understandable because it's sort of a niche thing, I do episodes on this series about comic book characters and, you know, movie and TV show and video game and anime characters. There's a bunch already. There's over 50 of these that we've done. Find a character that you're interested in. Share it with a friend. All right, any closing thoughts?
Mm, not really.
My closing thought is drink water. You need to stay hydrated. And be grateful that a show called Exploding Balls didn't have more terrorism in it. Okay. See you next week, everybody. Stay strong, stay true to yourselves, and remember, we can all be heroes. All right.
Oh shit.
Like, am I the only one that thinks of bombs when I hear that?
No, I don't think of bombs. I literally think of balls exploding, but not like balls, like human
Oh,
balls.
oh, Jesus, that's so much worse.
Yeah.
Oh,